one of the fun things about it was they had the first Derby run on Centennial Avenue here in town, and the hill went from at the top of it. It went down into, I guess it was Lexington Avenue, where it crossed the street, and there was woods all along the side there. There's several houses built, but not a whole lot. And anyway, the biggest problem they had was these kids didn't pay attention about directions on how to wind the steering mechanism so it turned right and turn right. They always turn right and go left, and you could hear the leaves in the trees crush when they go across the curb down there trying to keep from going in that street. But anyway, they finally, Akron people came down where the major event takes place each year, and they had a motorcycle policeman follow them down, go down the hill. They come back, and best I can remember, he told the guy, everybody was interested in how fast we was getting down. He says, 58 miles an hour. Says, that's faster than Akron's course. He says, we can't have that. So you're going to have to change places. So that's when it got moved up the next year to the Church Street, right off of Main Street, and went from Church down to Elm Street. That was the run. And it seemed like he was walking compared to going down the Centennial. But anyway, it was right comical to see some of the guys, some of the stuff they put together. And Chevrolet dealerships, one that had the axles and wheels so everybody was equal on that part, and a steering wheel if you wanted it. The rule book they give you tells you what's allowed for you to have help on. Like if it's a metal part that needs a special bending or something, you're okay to have that done. And you could have somebody paint it, no problem. Most of them wanted the guy to do it. And go back to '61 now. The first time I even knew anything about the soapboxes that year is a guy named Richard Mason that won it, and he entered it in Winston-Salem. They were having one, and he won that race. Everybody started wanting to get in the soapbox, so they made sure they had plenty of the wheels and stuff available. And the rule book told you that at the end of the making the box, the soapbox, you had to stay 250 or less in weight for the whole car and you. That was the final weight. And a lot of them is coming up short on weight. They bought the Enterprise paper. They had what they call lead ingots or whatever that they use for making type letters and this, that. They about bought all the lead out, trying to line the insides of the Derby so it'd be weighing up right at 250. They didn't mind, but it was a good ad for them. When come race day, we had a practice day over there, and they made a ramp where the rear wheels would sit in, or front wheels, I believe it was. The front wheels would sit in it, and then they push the lever down. Both of them were supposed to leave at the same time. And then at the end of it, everybody come up there to collect any prizes they'd won or what have you.
Well, tell us how the race ran. You kind of started that talking about the ramp, but tell us like being in the race. What was that like?
Well, you drew lanes, so to speak, one or two lanes, and then they paired you up, ready to go right behind the next one. And after you got through, they had pickup trucks and all. They'd load them in and take them back around and put them out in the parking lot there next to the church that was there at the corner. And if you won, you got put in another row to draw again. Then finally narrowed it down to the top, I believe it's top 6 or something like that. And that out of that was going to be the winner of the race in the 3 places.
So when you got paired up and you were in your lanes, there was the ramp. Explain the ramp to me.
Well, they made the ramp, I believe. I want to say Mickey Bodywork might have made the ramp for them. Everybody told me the last race that we had here, when I got released on my side of the ramp, and it was about a second or so behind the guy that was running against me, and said, "You can protest." Just fighting a battle for no reason.
How many kids were usually in it?
I'd say probably 20.
Did it get bigger every year?
A little bit each year, most time.
And do you remember any of the folks who were the organizers?
The main man that got the soapbox doing going on here was Gary Davis. And he owned WHPE radio station. And that's the first time I ever heard the soapbox. Was he come by the house. My mother and dad played bridge with him all the time. And he come by there and had a floorboard material. This board said, "We need to get this and glue these two together good and make sure they're going to stay together." So that shouldn't be any problem. Says this is what thickness you need to make that floorboard out of to stand up all this hammering and banging and jolting around it's going to take. And he explained it, what was taking place about the wheels and stuff. I will say this: the fire department that last year they wanting to win that thing, and they had people that did work on the side like plumbing or electrical work or whatever. They built a ramp about waist high, and it had big rollers in it, and it spaced the rollers out to the front wheel and the back wheels. And it had a big motor down underneath it that pulled the belts that turned the rollers. And all I had to do was reach up there and switch to the bottom of the floor on top, pull it, and I was rolling. I could sit in that car for an hour at a time if I wanted to, and once you get those wheels broke in with the weight, I said, "It suits me."
Do you remember any of the other kids who were involved? Names of any of the other?
Well, there was Larry Harris. His daddy owned the Harris Music Company at the time, and I'd catch Larry sneaking over at the house. He had no idea what to do, but he had a book to go by. But he just wanted to see how. He'd even try to open the garage door. I had it fixed where he couldn't, because I caught him one time trying to go in. It got to be a cloak and dagger business there for a while, and when people really saw how much interest it was taking in.
So did a lot of people come out and watch? I mean, we've seen photographs. Yeah. There's a lot of fans.
They'd line sidewalks, or whatever is close by. And it seemed like they did put some stands up one time, just to try it. That church parking lot was a lifesaver.